You want to check your tag, Madison?
Oh boy. On.
Okay, we're gonna turn your phones off.
Don't worry that we're doing a show. Just do what you want to do.
Turn your phones off, and we're gonna wait till the siren ends. This means it's noon on Wednesday, and the siren is right next door at the elementary school.
How long does that thing last?
Tad, I'm going to introduce him, and then I'm going to come and say...
It'll go off one more time. It's gonna go off one more time. Is that okay?
That's fine.
During the show?
I don't think
Okay.
I can hear it.
Now, I don't know either. Okay, here we go.
Welcome back to the 101, brought to you by Lincoln Wallace. As always, this is Michael Morris with my co-host, Madison Gillespie. Madison, how are you?
Madison.
Either way, little Maddie, how are you?
I'm great, Macau.
It's great to have you. And today, we've got a guest. Andrew's not here because he is doing more important things, apparently, than doing our radio show.
Either lifting or skiing.
Yeah, or trimming that beard. Today, we have a friend of Andrew's on, though. We have Tad Herrington from John Sestina Company. How are you?
Doing well.
We wanted to bring an expert on today because I was doing some research with the government shutdown, and that was a fun thing to go through. That was a great long weekend. But one of the things that I was noticing were the financial markets, how this was going to affect them. And Madison, we always like to bring on experts when we can. Tad, can you give a little background on, you are a financial planner, correct?
Yeah, I'm a financial planner with John Sestina Company. We've been a fee-only comprehensive financial planning firm. Well, not me, but the company's been around for 50, 60 years. And I've been there, I've been doing this for about 10 years. So we take our clients through a financial planning process that essentially manages their financial plan in a way that helps them achieve their goals and achieve peace of mind.
The reason we wanted to have you on is that a lot of times when we'll meet at a Starbucks randomly, a lot of these kind of questions come up. And when Madison shows up to the meetings at Starbucks, part of what he does is he advises businesses like as a third party for hiring, firing, dealing with vendors, but also their financial outlooks. And one of the things that I found was there actually are like 4 key points in hiring a financial advisor to help you with your business. Madison, you've seen this before in your practice, what you guys do.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of it. I mean, we're kind of the business side of what Tad does, right? I mean, in a lot of ways, we're advising them, doing projections, setting them up for the long term, not just setting them up within the moment. Some things have to be dealt with in the moment, but for the most part, it's kind of along the same lines. And so what we try to do is partner with somebody like Tad that has the experience in the field, where we can say, hey, we're handling the financials of your business. Personally, where are you? Are you meeting with somebody? How can we introduce somebody to you that could help you on a different platform, but it's very similar?
How many times do you, Tad, get a request of somebody that's running a small business or is an entrepreneur? How many times do you get them and they literally they're at ground zero. They don't even know where to start?
Oh, a lot. Actually, probably majority of our clients are business owners, because with business owners, it's there's a lot of overlap, right? It's not segmented. You don't have your personal side, then the business. It all comes together. So we get a lot of people that come to us, then start a business, people that have had businesses, but either way, there's still a ton to do. And then, like what you were saying, maybe more of we're on the personal side of the financial planning, but as a conjunction of that, we utilize third-party experts like yourself that would then come in and just help piece everything together.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, again, we're all about making money for people out there on the radio. We're trying to give them tips. I want to kind of cut through. We don't have to get through all 4 because I think we're going to delve off as we normally do. The first thing that was pointed out was financial advisors bring necessary expertise. Tad, what does that mean exactly? The necessary expertise as far as what? I can read this to you. I mean, I do have paper, but I'd like you to break it down.
I love that because it's very politically correct,
Oh, we're very PC on this show. When we're at commercial, we're not PC, but on the show we are PC.
But the key word there is necessary, right? You have to figure out what's necessary for you as a person. So if you're hiring an advisor, let's say business owner, I think that's what we're talking about. You want somebody who's necessary for you. What does that mean? That's the hardest part about locating and finding an advisor, because, 50 years ago, like when John started our firm, he would have to fight tooth and nail to come up with a headline in the yellow pages that says financial planners. Now you Google financial planner and what comes up? You get thousands of results here in Columbus alone.
And they all do fantastic work. I mean, we were aware that every single financial planner is successful.
But I don't want to say they're not all created equal, but they all just have different processes. They have different specialties. So
well, you discussed, and again, this is betraying a confidence, but that's what this show's about. When we were at Starbucks, you talked about products. A lot of them have products that are fee-based. They aren't necessarily looking out for your well-being. It's how do I make a commission off of that? Correct.
Sure. And the key with that is just understanding what kind of relationship are you getting in, because I'm a huge believer in behavioral finance, just like essentially.
I mean, who isn't? Madison?
Yeah,
I mean, you're riveted by that. Go on.
I know, I'm kind of a nerd in that setting, but essentially you can do more for anybody as a financial planner just through behavioral coaching than we can by picking the right stock, bond, or mutual fund.
Well, can you explain what that means, though, behavioral coaching? What do you mean?
So, well, if you think about just our human nature, we have these, we're very smart, intellectual species, but over years and years of evolution, our brains have been wired in a way that unfortunately makes us make really bad money decisions. So we get these biases that get in the way of making good habits or having good money habits. And so just by controlling your behavior, so like if the stock, like 2008 when the stock market collapsed, in hindsight, we all look back and say, well, I saw my stocks, my life savings go down 40%. I should have stayed the course because we came up and now we're booming again. But in the moment, a lot of people wanted to pull the money out, and that's becoming reactionary. So like behavioral coaching is more of, okay, let's make sure we understand what decision we're making, what are all the implications, and coaching somebody through that time rather than just picking the right mutual fund.
Right. You know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
What we used to do when we worked for companies that you advertise, things are going bad, and then people pull out, and then they wonder, well, why am I not making any money? And then they want to buy at the highest rate because everybody else is doing it, right?
Come in last minute because they're panicked.
Yeah.
And then spend more money.
But you as the rep, we're always like, oh, yeah, I'm making a higher commission, but I told you not to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
do you find yourself in that situation where you're like, you don't want to pull your money because you're going to come back to me in 3 months and you're going to dump it and it's going to be higher, right? The dollar cost averaging catches up. Right?
Exactly, yeah. It's like the Bitcoin craze now. You see that all over again.
Can I ask you something? We talked a little bit about Bitcoin. Can you explain what Bitcoin is? Like, is that going to be like the .com thing?
I'm not even going to act like I'm smart enough to speculate on that. I think that I kind of give it a parallel to like the internet. Remember when the internet came out in the 2000s?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, a lot of people have, but
I Googled it.
But the internet was this thing that revolutionized our world.
Right.
But we had all these companies that were selling that, and people were buying these companies that went belly up. So it's just the same thing. Like I think the blockchain could be something valuable down the road, and probably will be. It's just, is it going to be?
But it's not the thing you're going to tell people if they come to you today and they're going to say, Tad, I want to put it all on Bitcoin, and you're going to go, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely not.
Okay.
I think I just wanted to kind of
interrupt.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm good at. No, I think it's cool. Tad's line of work is we sit around and talk about spending money and don't, I'm not going to spend $100 because of this or that. But there's so many unique things that you can do with a financial planner long term. And they're very outside the box thinkers. They find ways to put your money in certain areas to get the best interest, to eliminate fees. And so when he mentions in the moment, we're also caught up in how much money is in our checking account, how much money is this or that. But when you start breaking down for the long term, all those little things add up. So if you have a really good financial planner, and kind of what we based our business model off only on the business side is thinking outside the box. Doing things a little bit differently sometimes, or finding ways to save your client money. And I think that's just a really cool skill set and really important for an individual no matter what age you are. Because a lot of times in our businesses we're told, put money in your 401k, do this based off of a corporate structure,
right,
rather than actually taking the time to say, hey, I should sit down with a financial planner. Maybe there's ways I can put money into other things for better returns, rather than just going off what we're told.
Well, I think what's cool about it is that Madison, you and I, we deal in businesses every single day, or we're looking at month to month or year to year. Tad, you're looking at somebody, if they're 25 now, what are they going to do if they want to retire at 55, right, at 60? You're looking down the road for them. What we're trying to do every day or every week is avoid that car crash and keep it consistent and drive revenues up. But while that's happening, those people look at it and go, oh, I can buy a new car, a new house. But they're not realizing if you spend money now and you don't save it, you don't plan, you're going to be working until you're 68 because you didn't plan your escape route, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes down to just a lack of financial literacy in the world today. I think I saw it on the TV, there was a study that said baby boomers, I think, average savings is maybe $160,000 total for retirement. And
That's
if you do the math, for a 30-year retirement, that's probably not going to get you very far.
Right, yeah.
So you get a nice Tesla, though. I mean, let's be honest. One.
Or 13 Kias.
Yeah, and you can live in the back of all of them.
Right.
Well, what is the statistic? I think it's like over 60% of Americans don't have $2,000 in their savings account.
I believe it.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
But that is surprising to me because everyone has an iPhone or they have a nice car, they live in a nice house.
They have, but do they need?
Well, okay.
That's the problem.
Let's ask the expert here.
That'd be my guess.
Someone says to you they want to pull money out of their 401k to pay off a mortgage or to buy a car or that kind of, you get those kind of questions.
Oh, yeah, every day.
And do you immediately smack them in the teeth when they say something like that? You're going to rob your future to buy something nice now?
Yeah, it's we every new client that comes in the door, anybody that's interested, we say we don't sugarcoat anything. Our whole objective is to help our clients reach their goals.
He's kind of
That's
perfect
it.
for this.
Yeah.
We don't really sugarcoat.
No, I love it.
But it doesn't do us any favors to tell somebody they can live the lifestyle that they want, but they can't.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
Because what matters is that they're going to stick with us for years and years and years. Excuse me, because we're helping them reach that goal. So financial planning is definitely a balance for the future and today. We don't know if tomorrow's promised, so we have to plan for that. But you also have to live for today. So like what you were saying that I loved was, yeah, it's not open up an IRA, put in $5,000, pick this stock, bond, mutual fund, whatever. It's more of this conceptual, changing the behavior, giving you options, thinking outside the box. That's going to help you do that today because we have a cool presentation that we do that can show you how you can increase your lifestyle with financial planning. A lot of people think financial planners are no, save, you can't do this, you can't buy that, don't take the
They're
trip.
like your parents.
Exactly,
They can't go out
yeah.
after 10. Yeah, I got it.
For
And
sure.
some of them probably don't want to open up Pandora's box.
You mean parents?
Yeah.
Financial advisors. I didn't know where you're going with that.
Well, I mean, I think it's a very personal thing too to sit down with a planner.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
Well,
especially
because you have to tell them the one thing. There's two things people don't want to talk about. Well, three. It's politics, religion, and money.
Right.
And I'm sure if you start talking about their money, they'll tell you the other two things and where they stand on that too.
Yeah.
So that is
you're
not a
right.
comfortable thing to do. What kind of pushback do you get when you meet with somebody the first time? Are
Well-
they kind of like, this is what I want to do, and then you're like, yeah, but that only gets you to like, let's say a 10-year thing. Let's look at 30 years, and they're like, I just told you what I want to do. Like, how do you deal with somebody that they're pretty steadfast in what they want to do?
We call it suffocating logic. So clearly, yeah, if somebody, it's always a challenge, anybody, to develop that trust. I mean, it's all about developing the trust so they can trust us and listen to us and take the advice. If somebody is a little bit more, like you were saying, oh, I want to do this, this, and this, but they're pretty adamant about it, well, it's our job to show them why exactly that doesn't work. If they don't like it, they don't like it. But that's our approach, is to just use logic to say, look, if you do this, you're not going to be able to have X amount of lifestyle in the future, or whatever the case may be.
Well, that kind of leads into this next point. The financial advisors lead business owners to cost savings. That's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you deal with the individual more than the business, correct?
They're kind of hand in hand, yeah. Because, I mean, from a financial planning standpoint, the business and the individual are the same. Like, just for example, think retirement plans. You can do so much more creative planning with somebody who has a business because you can structure different retirement plans, you focus on taxes, I mean, all the things that you guys do. You can but use these things to build a little bit more complex planning strategies.
Well, you see that, Madison, don't you? Because you're going in and, like, what Rachel and I always say is we like to deal with all the broken toys because then you can fix them, you know. You're dealing with businesses that need you and they've got to restructure something because otherwise they can't plan for retirement. They can't plan for revenue growth, right?
Yeah, I think they kind of feed off each other in a lot of aspects. I mean, I'm sure, Tad, you probably, work with individuals that you're really in depth within their business side of things and on the personal side. I mean, do you come across situations where you're dealing with accountants too? I mean, I'm assuming that that's something that comes up for you.
And that's kind of like how we approach it is, look, we're the financial planners, and financial planning is very comprehensive, so we have to know a lot already. So we don't try to act like we're an expert in accounting or IT or anything like that. We have to leverage those experts to find them.
And working together with that person.
Yeah.
I mean, on the financial stuff, a lot of them go hand in hand, but it's very different avenues, right? There's a lot of things that financial planners are really skilled at, and they don't cross over to the accounting side. But for the most part, if you have a financial planner and you have a good accountant, they should be working together. And that's kind of the ultimate goal, right? Is putting those two marriages together so that it's not, because whatever help is helping in your business is ultimately going to help in your personal finances too. So I think those are two big key components, for a small business owner.
How do you end up dealing with accountants who kind of bring you people, or do you get people that come to you kind of word of mouth?
Yeah, so
I would think an accountant would bet, like, you've got to talk to these guys right now because you're falling a sinkhole. But I would think most accountants would kind of go, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that happens. Actually, the way that we structure our business is that, and it kind of goes back to that first question of how to find a financial planner, because I think the only way we can give objective advice to our clients is to eliminate all conflicts of interest. So we have no skin in the game. We can recommend anything on the table, whether it's because we don't get kickbacks, we don't get commissions. And so with accountants, we want to be able to be flexible enough to find, if somebody has a real estate business, we want to go find the best real estate accountant for them. If somebody has a business that maybe they're a doctor. And
so you can recommend that.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. Okay.
And then, but getting kickbacks, that would be considered a kickback to us.
Why are you winking at me?
So
No, I'm just kidding. He's not winking. I'm just joking.
But we try to avoid that. But yeah, some people are referred and recommended.
Let's take a break right now because we want to touch on these other two issues. If we don't, I'm not going to be hurt about it. You're listening to the 101, brought to you by Lincoln Wallace.
I feel like I'm looking through blinds.
I do too. I feel like the Lone Ranger. I'm looking right through this thing right here. So I'm kind of like when I'm addressing you, I'm kind of dipping and coming. Yes.
Okay, cool.
But only in the Spanish sense of the word. You feel all right? Is there anywhere I want to get into your seminars?
Yeah.
We got about 10 more minutes. Did you get a water?
Yeah, I got one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where's the scotch?
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure how to
Somebody
handle
drank it all. Michael drank it all out yesterday.
Yeah, I believe it.
That's why I kind of do this and then I come in and say something. So you're fine. All right, so we got financial advisors prepare
just stay
business
close to the
for
microphone.
future developments, and then coordination of business finances, which is super fucking boring. So I think we can go financial advisors prepare business for future developments. That's where you come in. So I'll just point at you,
Okay.
and then I'll say your name. Wait till I say your name.
Then he'll point again.
And then we'll get into, I think we're going to skip the last one because that's kind of like everything accumulated. But then I want to talk about your seminars.
Okay.
You have seminars coming up,
I actually have one tomorrow, but I don't have the specific dates, but they know they will be next quarter.
but they can go to
Our website.
the Sestina website.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
so when I
mention
come
the
back,
website.
mention the seminars, and then we'll get into the third
Yeah.
bullet point. You ready, Juan?
Ready?
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
I wasn't talking to you. Welcome back to the 101, brought to you by Lincoln Wallace. Madison is here. Tad is here. Tad, can you do everyone a favor? You've got financial seminars coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell them how they can contact you or your firm so that they can attend these seminars?
Yeah, you can find information on our website, which is www.managingtobewealthy.com/classroom.
Can you do that one more time? Just in case someone's driving
Sure.
and trying to text at the same time.
managingtobewealthy.com/classroom. And on that page, it will have our future dates. We actually are wrapping up the current session tomorrow. But you can sign up or you can give us your information. We'll let you know when the next one come out, probably next quarter sometime, so 2 or 3 months. But it'll have some information on what you can expect to receive, what we talk about, and that type of thing.
How long are these seminars typically?
Actually, 6 hours total. We do 3 2-hour sessions, and the whole objective.
In one day?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Over 3 weeks.
That's not half misery. Okay, 3 weeks I can handle. I thought
Yeah.
it's like a college course. Okay.
Yeah. But we've been offering them in person, actually just down the street here at the Hub on Kenny. It's a shared space, and also online. So whatever your preference is.
Gotcha. Okay.
Very cool.
So if you missed that, go back to Facebook, rewind to this spot, 1650 in the show. Madison, I want to talk about financial advisors preparing businesses for future development because that is what we do. We are always looking at the future, trying to project over 12 months how to make more revenue. How do you see that tying in with what Tad does?
I think it ties in. I mean, I think it's extremely important. Like we've discussed earlier, having your financial planner and the accountant in sync just helps in a plethora of different ways. It depends on the business, and every business owner is different of how they do their planning. Some people are very in the moment, some people are long term. I would be more curious, since Tad's the guest, to ask him, what is a relationship like for you on the planning stage with an accountant that you work with? What does that look like?
You mean like working with a client's accountant?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And the client, like that whole combination.
Sure. So if we just take an example, right now with the new tax law, businesses are definitely going to be impacted, definitely with the pass-through rules. So right now, in the beginning of every year, we call it beginning of the year tax planning, because
That's a good name for it.
yeah, right, makes sense.
I like it.
You don't want to do that in July. It doesn't work.
Yeah, no.
So you got to do it at the beginning, then the end. But you do it now, because if you wait until December, it's too late. But right now, we're working to say, okay, let's project some taxes. So that's where the accountant comes in.
Right.
Hey, can you help us project some taxes for this year based on last year? What changes do we think will happen? There's some ins and outs there. But then kind of leaning on that accountant, thinking, well, do you recommend any changes, especially with the new tax code, any changes to retirement plans or the way that we're paid or the structure of the business, and just working hand in hand with that accountant to essentially come up with creative strategies.
Right, because the mutual goal is to help the business owner save money.
Well, especially if they're an entrepreneur. Because
Right.
you have a lot of entrepreneurs, like, depending on what the business is, it could take 3 to 5 years for them to actually really get over that hump and make profit. So you spend all that time to build it, you don't want to lose it. You don't want to have money going out like a sieve.
Yeah, all of us sitting here either dealt with somebody or are that person where if you leave a corporate structure where to start your own business, you don't realize all the things that come along with that.
You get to wear shorts, but you have to start for a long time,
That's
right?
Yeah, be stressed out. There's a combination of things that catch up to you about this time of year too. You start to, sending out 1099 stuff. The list goes on, and so I think having someone like Tad on your side personally is just another level of comfort, number one, but it also strategically helps you long term for your business, and not just for yourself, but for your family. I don't have a ton of examples where that I could bring up where somebody didn't succeed because of a financial advisor, but it's the same principle of what we were talking about earlier. There's other ways to distribute that money in unique ways that help the business long term too. And I think thinking smarter, thinking outside the box, doing things that maybe aren't conventional can sometimes increase cash flow. There's all kinds of things that tie into it. And so I think it's a really important element of a small business owner.
Tad, how many entrepreneurs do you think that you work with?
As a firm, I wouldn't know myself, probably 15 to 20.
That's still a lot.
Yeah.
So you must see the same things that they're tripping over time and time again. Not the same individual, but if you have that group, it's going to be, did you get all your 1099s out? Did you pay all your vendors? Where's your receipts, right? Do you guys have a system where if you get an entrepreneur that comes to you that runs a coffee shop or something, like where it's kind of like a playbook, like this is what you're going to need over a 12-month period?
Yeah, we call it checklist, but I love the playbook idea because that's essentially it.
I'm trademarking that.
He used to cheer in college.
Yeah. I was really good. I was the girl that was on the top of the shoulders.
I remember you.
Anyway, we interrupted you, sorry.
That's all right.
So the playbook or checklist idea.
Yeah, it's going back to, like, as financial planners, you have to know a lot about a lot of different things, right? And so the checklist is just a safety net, so you make sure that you're covering all the bases.
Madison, don't you guys kind of have something for your clients the same way?
Mm-hmm. Very similar. Yeah. It's specific to the client, but I have something as simple as just a money saving sheet that, what are your expenses? What areas are they coming from? Just basic stuff, but it actually, when you start breaking some of the things down, from a business perspective, I'm sure there's a crossover on the financial. You can be overpaying in certain areas, or for your instance, paying too many fees, or, I think it's just getting into the details, but having a checklist that you don't miss anything, nothing falls through the cracks.
Well, it's all about, again, generating revenue, but keeping the majority of it, right? Because you're going to lose a lot, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You're cutting that check quarterly, and as you make more money, it gets more painful to write that, here's my check for $25,000, and I hate the government type thing.
There you go.
But that's probably another thing you deal with, right? When tax season comes, you're probably trying to find places for these people to invest their money so they can keep more of it, not pay those huge taxes.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, just somebody I'm working with, retiree, recently retired, deferred comp coming in, which essentially is just, he's getting the lump sum of money now, which is going to be ordinary income, which means he's going to have high taxes. So then we have to think, okay, how do we reduce that tax bill? If you're a business owner, you might have a little bit more flexibility to do that. So do we keep it in the business? Do we give it as a distribution? Do you pay a salary? All well within the rules of the IRS, but it's just understanding these different avenues that we have where somebody who doesn't have a business probably wouldn't have those options.
Right. Well, I think that's important because, you know, Madison, Andrew to some extent too, being entrepreneurs, it's great when you're building it, because when you start to see a little bit of profit, it's when you start to really get profit. And then people like Rachel, who works for me, they want to be paid for some reason. And it's just like, how do I avoid that? Well, I'm trying not to. I'm trying to pay her in Bitcoin.
Nice.
And she's like,
Or
what's a
Trident
Bitcoin?
layers.
Yeah, so she won't even watch.
What's a Bitcoin?
Yeah, she won't even watch Mad Men to understand what's going on in our business. She's watched like 2 seasons, and I'm like, you catch up or you're not getting a raise. Tad, one more time before we leave, I want people to understand those seminars people can attend for free, correct?
Yeah. Complimentary, right?
And they can go 2 hours at a time, not 6 hours at one time, right? And it's a course of over 3 weeks. If they miss one of those weeks, can they catch up some other way?
Yep, we do record them. So we have people that, you know, life happens, things come up. So we can send you the recording if you happen to miss one. But we also give out a free workbook that we've written. So you at least have the workbook that you can take and do some of the homework assignments.
That's cool. Madison, do you have anything else for this week? We're talking
No.
about financial planning, people saving money and making money.
I just thank Tad for coming by and giving us some drops.
Thanks,
My
man.
pleasure.
How am I supposed to wrap it? You just took the thing that I said.
I thought I was hosting.
No, you're sitting in the farthest corner away.
All right, I'm done.
Okay. Well, we would like to thank Tad for coming, and Madison, thank you for showing up. If you can show up at our next meeting outside of the show, that would be great too.
I'll check my schedule.
Yeah,
but I
please
should
do.
be able to make it.
We'll send you a Facebook message. That's going to be it for the 101 brought to you by Lincoln Wallace this week. And one more time, thanks, Tad.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Cool, man. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I think Andrew